I'm Eva.
30. Youngest daughter of the Marstons. Those Marstons. The kind of family whose name still opens doors in Sacramento, even when their hearts stayed shut for decades. Chloe was the show pony. I was the afterthought. She got spotlight, scholarships, and sparkling praise. I got silence, judgment, and a one-way ticket out. Data analyst now. Chicago skyline. Six-figure salary. A life built from scratch, far from the shadows of my sister's designer veil. But the thing about ghosts, they don't need permission to return. My phone buzzed at 3:11 a.m. I stared at the screen.
Dad.
Again. Fifth call tonight. My breath hitched. I didn't answer. 1 minute later, voicemail. The preview line. You owe her that much. And then an email. No subject line.
No sender.
Just a file attached. Chloe's wedding, the unedited cut, MP4. My blood chilled. I hadn't spoken to Chloe in 7 years. The last conversation ended with her slamming a glass and whispering, "Stay gone, Eva. You're easier to forget when you're invisible." She married someone rich. Of course. Someone who wore cufflinks even at brunch. Someone with a last name that meant old power and tax-deductible cruelty. I didn't click the file.
Not yet.
Instead, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the city pulse. The blue glow of billboards. Headlights streaking wet streets like racing scars. Then my phone buzzed again. A number I didn't recognize. Text. Play the video before 11:11 p.m. Or everything burns. I didn't believe in signs. I believed in data, in logic, in clean code, and digital forensics. But my fingers trembled. I hit play. The screen faded in. Chloe in white. The lace sleeves. The soft focus lens. Her smile too wide. I knew that smile. I wore a version of it every time I sat through Sunday brunches where I didn't exist. The camera panned the aisle. Chloe walked. The violin swelled. Guests dabbed tears. Then,
Glitch.
a flicker. One frame. Rewind. Play again. This time I paused it at 11 minutes and 36 seconds. In the corner of the shot, someone sat alone in the last pew. A man in a dark suit. Not looking at the bride. Not looking at anyone. Looking straight into the camera. No name tag.
No flower pin.
No movement.
Just.
Watching. I didn't recognize the face. But I recognized the intent. Like he knew the camera would catch him. Like he wanted me to see. I fast-forwarded. The footage kept playing. Speeches.
Toasts.
Chloe's husband kissing her hand like she was already porcelain. Then another glitch. This one with audio. A faint hiss. Then a whisper. She'll fall. And when she does, they'll never question it. I stopped the video. My lungs forgot how to breathe. What was this? A joke? A deepfake? A threat? But then I looked closer. Metadata. Encoded. June 28, 2019. Last modified. 3 days ago. This wasn't archival footage.
Someone had tampered with it.
Recently. Someone wanted me to find this now.
Why?
I copied the file. Ran to checksum. Saved it to 3 cloud drives under aliases I hadn't touched since I faked my transfer to UC Davis and disappeared into Chicago. Another message buzzed in. Same number. This is your family's real legacy. TikTok, Eva. My hands were ice. I crossed the room, opened the drawer where I kept my passport. I hadn't been home since the summer Chloe pushed me down the basement stairs and called it an accident. My reflection in the mirror stared back.
Pale.
Tight-lipped. The woman who walked away. The girl they tried to erase. A quote echoed in my head, something Dad once said while carving the turkey. In this family, appearances matter more than truth. I zipped my carry-on. Time to test how much truth they were willing to bury. I hit play, and Chloe's perfect smile cracked. But not the way I remembered. The plane hit the tarmac with a shudder. My stomach flipped. Sacramento. Home of secrets with manicured lawns. I stepped into arrivals, dragging a carry-on that weighed less than my past. No one was waiting. Of course not. I hadn't told them I was coming. I hailed a car. Driver didn't ask questions.
Good.
I wasn't ready for answers either. The video was still in my head. On loop. Chloe's smile. The shadowed man in the pew. That whisper. She'll fall. And when she does, they'll never question it. I replayed it again in the back seat.
Zoomed in.
Froze the frame. His eyes were sharp. Focused. Not watching the ceremony. Watching me through the camera like he knew I'd see him one day. He's not a guest, I muttered. The driver glanced at me in the mirror. Excuse me? Nothing. I checked the video's metadata again. The original file had been created in 2019, but it had been modified 3 days ago by someone who used a burner email and left no trace. Someone had edited this footage recently, deliberately. But why send it to me? Distraction reveal. I needed help. I messaged Claire, media forensics expert, former classmate, one of the few people I still trusted. Need your eyes.
Video. Wedding photage.
Timestamp 11 minutes and 36 seconds. Zoom on back pew. Something's off. Claire, send it.
Now.
By the time I reached the hotel, her reply came. Claire, Eva, that's not wedding footage. That's a nested overlay. I froze. Fingers cold. Me? What? Claire. The man in the pew, he's not part of the ceremony. He's on a separate feed. Overlaid. Someone edited him in. But here's the twist. The shadow behind his seat matches none of the lighting inside the chapel. He's not even in the same building. I dropped my phone. Deep breath. Truth or setup? No one inserts a stranger into a wedding video unless they want you to notice. Unless it's a message. I pulled open my laptop. Scrubbed the footage frame by frame. At 13 minutes and 42 seconds, another glitch. Audio this time. It was faint. Almost missed it. But I caught the waveform spike. Slowed it.
Cleaned it.
A voice. Female.
Whispering.
She'll crack if Eva comes back. She always does. My own name. Like a ticking bomb packed into lace and champagne. My hotel room suddenly felt smaller. Walls closer. The mirror reflected something behind me, just a coat draped over a chair, but it made me jump. I locked the door, bolted it, drew the curtains. Then I heard it. A knock. I stayed silent. Another knock. Firmer. Room service? I hadn't ordered anything. Wrong room, I called back. Silence. Then the sound of retreating footsteps. I waited a full minute. Then 2. Peephole. Empty hallway. I opened the door just a crack. A silver tray sat on the ground. No note. Just a cloche covering a plate. Something inside me whispered, don't. I used the ice bucket tongs to lift the lid. Not food. A single flash drive. Black.
No marquines.
Wrapped in a torn ribbon of white lace. I slammed the door shut. Shaking. Another message. Another threat. I inserted the drive into a burner laptop. Encrypted. One file.
No metadata.
Title. Vows_cut_finaled. MOV. I clicked it. It was the same wedding. But this time, no crowd cheering.
No vows.
Just a slow zoom toward the altar. And in the silence, Chloe's voice. Not her real voice. Not the one she used in public. Raw. Venomous. She never belonged here. This was always mine. I'd rather die than share it with Eva. My heart beat like it wanted out of my chest. Someone had compiled Chloe's truth. Not the fairy tale, but the monster underneath. This was a threat. Or a trap. Either way, it was bait. I had to decide. Expose it? Burn it? Use it? Then my phone rang.
Claire.
I ran facial recognition, she said. The guy in the pew, he's not random. He used to work in film production. Got blacklisted after a cover-up on a luxury wedding shoot. The bride fell. Said it was an accident. My spine iced. What's his name? She hesitated. Leon Vance. The name hit like a slap.
Vance.
He was Chloe's videographer. He wasn't supposed to be there. I scrolled through my texts. The first message, The one that said everything burns was sent 2 hours after the video file was edited. Someone wanted to ruin Chloe. Someone who knew about Vance. Someone who knew about me. I looked out the hotel window. The city moved beneath me, glittering and indifferent. Someone screamed in that church, and it wasn't from joy. The gate creaked like it hadn't been opened in years. But it had. I knew that sound too well. I parked in the far corner of the driveway, behind Chloe's silver Lexus. She was here. Of course she was. The Marston house still stood like a memory too polished to be real. White shutters. Red brick. Every bush trimmed to symmetrical perfection, like control had a landscaping plan. I walked up the steps, heart pounding. No one answered the door.
But it wasn't locked.
Inside, the air smelled of lavender and money. Too clean.
Too curated.
I took off my shoes out of instinct, then stopped mid-motion. Why the hell am I still performing in this house? The silence pressed in. Carpet swallowed my steps. I passed the formal dining room, still set for 13, as if a dinner was frozen in time, waiting for the right lie to unthaw. Something about the hallway lights flickered. Or maybe that was just me. I could hear my own breathing, my pulse in my ears.
Kitchen.
Empty. Living room. Spotless. Then I heard it. A laugh.
Soft.
Female. Upstairs. I moved fast, quiet. Years of sneaking out to the back porch to cry without being heard had trained me well.
Chloe's door was open.
But her bedroom looked wrong. Everything had been replaced. New bed. New curtains. All white. Like a showroom version of who she wanted to be. But she wasn't in there. I walked to the end of the hall. The storage room. The room no one spoke of.
Door closed. Locked.
Of course. But I remembered the way. Downstairs. Under the stairs. Behind the closet panel. I pushed the wood. The latch clicked. The air behind it was colder. The hidden hallway still existed. A corridor of silence. I followed it, my steps echoing softer now. Then the door. The back entrance to the storage room. I opened it. Dust floated like ghosts. Stacks of boxes. Old blankets. Forgotten furniture. And, in the corner, a single wooden trunk. I crouched. No label. Just a deep scratch on the lid. I opened it. Inside. VHS tapes. Dozens. All labeled with Chloe's initials. CM wedding prep. Bridal fitting. Rehearsal dinner. But one had no label. Just a red. I pulled it out. Slipped it into my tote. I turned to leave. Eva? I froze. I knew that voice. Chloe stood in the doorway. Makeup flawless. Nails French-tipped. Her smile tight, like a string pulled too far. You weren't supposed to be here, she said, calm as a blade. I straightened. Funny. That's exactly what I thought about you. She stepped in, heels clicking like gunfire on the concrete floor. What are you looking for? She asked, head tilted. Whatever you're trying to hide. She laughed again. Colder now. You never change.
No.
I evolved. She moved fast, tried to grab the tape. I yanked back. We struggled. Hands, nails, fury. I shoved her. She stumbled. Not far, but enough. I didn't come here to fight, I said. But I'm not leaving without this. Her expression cracked, just a flicker, but enough. You don't know what that contains, she hissed. No, I said. But you do. And that's all I need to know. I ran. Back through the corridor. She didn't chase me. She didn't need to. I knew she'd be planning something worse. I reached my car, locked the doors, drove until my hands stopped shaking. Back at the hotel, I dug through the bottom of my suitcase. I'd packed it before I ever opened the video file. Because part of me already knew that nothing about this family was ever buried for long. That's the thing about truth. You can bury it, rebrand it, rewrite the script. But eventually, someone rewinds the tape. I set the VHS next to the converter.
Took a breath.
Slid it in. The footage loaded.
No wedding.
No music. A room.
Dim Lily.
Chloe.
Mom.
And a man sitting in the shadows, voice blurred. Papers between them. Chloe looked straight at the camera. If Eva ever sees this, everything's ruined. The door creaked. And then someone whispered, Eva? I know you're here. I didn't look back when I left the house. Didn't wait for Chloe to call my name again. Or lie again. I drove with the windows down, air biting my skin. My hand gripped the VHS like a weapon. I was done being the afterthought. The black sheep. Sometimes you don't have to scream to be heard. You just have to survive long enough to speak. Back in the hotel, I bolted the door, slid a chair against it, drew every curtain, turned off every light. Paranoia? Or preparation? I slipped the unmarked tape into the converter. The machine buzzed like it hated the truth it was about to process. I hit record. The screen cracked into life. Static. Then shapes. Shadows. A room. Familiar, but not.
No timestamp.
No audio at first. Then it faded in, Chloe in a silk robe, sitting across from my mother. My mother's hair was too perfect. The kind of neatness you apply before you ruin something. Chloe leaned forward, voice hushed. She knows too much. Mom sighed. She won't talk.
She might.
If he pressures her. Then we make sure she doesn't.
A beat.
Then Chloe said it. If Eva opens her mouth, everything falls apart. The contracts. The trust. The transfer. I rewound. Listened again. The transfer. I froze. Marston Holdings. The family trust. It was in my name once. At least in part. Until it wasn't. Twist the narrative. Isolate the problem child. Push her out. Reassign the assets. I'd never signed anything. Never approved the transfer. I checked the family trust online. Nothing.
Locked.
Required login credentials. Two-factor authentication through a legal account manager. I remembered a name.
Van.
Not the man in the pew.
Robert Van.
The family's old estate attorney. I called Claire. I need a favor, I said. Can you trace Robert Van's office? Any digital ties to trust transfers involving the Marston name?
Already working on it, she said.
But Eva, there's more. I ran Chloe's name through court records. Quiet filings. Something odd. What? She filed a restraining order. Silence. Against me? I asked.
No.
Against a man named Nolan Ray. Filed 6 months ago. Dropped after 3 days. He never responded. Who's Nolan Ray? That's what I'm trying to find out. A new thread. I didn't like new threads. They fray fast. I printed the tape transcript. Highlighted the keywords. Transfer. Trust. Pressure. Silence. I needed proof of forgery. A document.
A signature.
A witness. Then the hotel fire alarm went off.
Sharp. Sudden.
Deafening. I jumped. Smoke?
No.
False trigger. Or a distraction. I grabbed the tape, the USB, the transcripts. Shoved them into my tote. Threw on my coat. Out the side stairwell. Down 3 floors. Lobby was chaos. People pouring out. Phones in hands. Eyes everywhere. I kept walking. Past the valet.
Toward the alley.
A black SUV sat parked at the corner. Engine on. Tinted windows. Too clean.
Too still.
I turned fast down the alley. Crossed to the diner across the street. Inside, I ordered coffee I wouldn't drink. Slid into a booth. Watched the SUV from the window. It didn't move. Didn't leave. It just waited. They're not trying to kill you, Claire had once said. They're trying to discredit you first. That's how power works. Kill the story before it breathes. I opened my laptop again. Checked the video frame by frame.
Pause. Zoom.
Enhance. In the reflection of a glass cabinet behind Chloe and Mom, another figure. Just shoulders.
Atille.
A man in the room. Not speaking. Just watching. Same figure from the pew. Leon Vance. Except now, I could make out something pinned to his chest. A court document. Unfolded. Barely legible. But the seal was clear. Sacramento County Recorder. He wasn't filming. He was delivering. Delivering what? And why during a taped conversation? Unless the video wasn't surveillance. It was documentation. A deal.
Made.
Recorded.
Sealed.
Which meant it was legal, or at least designed to be. A staged contract agreement. Leverage. Blackmail. Insurance. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Chloe hadn't just manipulated the family. She'd orchestrated the transfer of power using footage she thought was erased. But someone had kept a copy. And now I had it. You don't destroy a legacy with a hammer. You do it with a mirror. And I just found theirs. The girl I called my sister had staged her own trauma and blamed me for it. I didn't sleep. I waited for sunrise with the TV on mute and the hotel door double-locked. I watched shadows crawl across the walls like they had names. Paranoia becomes instinct when betrayal is a family tradition. By 6 a.m., I had a plan. Van had delivered a document during that tape. A legal document, which meant there was a paper trail. Every lie leaves a footprint if you know where to step. I drove to the recorder's office. Sacramento County. Public Records Division. I wore sunglasses and a baseball cap. Not because I thought I'd be recognized, but because I wasn't ready to be seen. Inside, I requested property transfers involving the Marston name from the last 5 years. Clerk raised a brow.
Relation.
Former, I said. She slid the file forward anyway. Flip.
Flip.
And there it was. Marston Family Holdings, transfer of title and voting power. Dated 2 months after Chloe's wedding. Signed by 3 people. Chloe Marston.
Robert Van.
And Eva Marston. I stared at my own name. Forged. I knew it instantly. The slant was wrong. The E curled like Chloe's handwriting. A quote snapped into my mind. Something our grandfather used to say, laughing over bourbon. The easiest lies are the ones you never question. I took photos. Every page. Every clause. Clause 14 stood out. This agreement is binding in perpetuity unless contested with evidence of coercion, falsified consent, or intentional misrepresentation. Intentional misrepresentation. I had it. On tape. Now I needed a lawyer. A real one. Not one the family bought. I called the only one who ever mattered, Dante Krill. Old friend. Something. Complicated. He picked up after 2 rings. You sound like hell, he said. I found something. Define something.
A forged signature.
A staged contract. A taped confession. He whistled. Where are you? Sacramento. Room 321 at the Helix. Stay there. Don't leave. I'll be there in 3 hours.
Click.
I should have felt relief. I felt like a target. I returned to the hotel, packed the USB, the tapes, and the property docs into a single file folder, duct-taped it shut. Then I slid the flash drive into the TV port. One last review before Dante arrived. The folder titled Vows_Cut_Final, MOV. I hit play. This time, the footage began with no ceremony.
No aísle. No bouquet.
Just Chloe, crying. But not from joy. She was backstage, makeup smeared, whispering to someone off camera. She's going to ruin everything. I didn't think she'd come back. The camera panned left. A man stepped into frame. Nolan Ray.
Tall. Done.
Wearing the same dark suit I'd seen in the wedding video. I froze. Claire had said the restraining order had been filed against Nolan. But here he was, calm, in control. Chloe grabbed his hands. They'll believe anything if you make it look like I'm in danger. Nolan whispered something I couldn't catch. She nodded, then stood. Mom entered the frame. Cold.
Composed.
She handed Chloe a tissue, then turned to Nolan. Do it exactly as we rehearsed. Rehearsed. I paused the footage. My breath staggered. Rewind.
Play.
As we rehearsed. This wasn't just manipulation. It was performance. An entire narrative designed to make Chloe the victim. to cast suspicion elsewhere. And me? The unstable sister who fled town, who resented her golden sibling, who had motive. They'd used me as the alibi before the crime was even committed. I clutched the USB like a loaded gun. My entire life had been edited, cut, rearranged, scripted to make me look like the problem. And now I had the raw footage. I called Claire. Send a duplicate to a secure server. Redundancy protocol. Triple encrypt. You found something, didn't you? No, I said. I found everything. Downstairs, a car pulled into the valet lane.
Black.
German.
Tinted. Dante.
I met him in the lobby. He hugged me too tightly. I didn't pull away. Jesus, Eva, he muttered. What the hell did they do to you? Nothing, I said. Until now. We headed back upstairs. As the elevator rose, I saw it again. The black SUV. Parked across the street. Same plate. Same driver. Still watching. They weren't just scared I'd talk. They were scared I finally had proof. They didn't just erase me from the family, they rewrote my sanity. I walked into the ballroom like I owned it. Technically, I once did. Chloe's rehearsal dinner had spared no expense. Crystal chandeliers. Hand-stitched tablecloths. Name cards printed in gold. A string quartet playing something rich and empty. I wore black. Not out of grief. Out of clarity. Dante followed 3 steps behind, a legal envelope under his arm. Claire had sent the server upload confirmation. The footage was safe.
Synced.
Immutable. Truth, backed up. Eyes turned when I entered. Whispers bloomed like smoke. Chloe froze mid-laugh, her champagne flute halfway to her mouth. Our mother blinked like I was a ghost. Eva, Chloe said, tones sweetened with venom. What a surprise. I thought I'd stop by before the vows, I replied. And share a toast. She moved toward me, slow, calculated. Now's not the time. It never is, right? That's how you keep people quiet. Shame is a powerful muzzle. Dad stepped between us. Eva, don't make a scene. This is Chloe's night. I looked him in the eye. Then she'll want her guests to see what's truly worth celebrating. I handed the USB to the AV technician behind the projection booth. Replace the slideshow, I told him. Play this. Full volume. He hesitated. Dante stepped forward. She has legal authorization.
Now.
The technician nodded, pale. Inserted the drive. I turned to the crowd. You've heard Chloe's version of the story. Let's try mine. The lights dimmed. The screen came alive. Chloe's voice. Her panic backstage. Nolan Ray appearing. Their whispered rehearsal. Our mother's chilling calm. Do it exactly as we rehearse. Gasps echoed. Murmurs fractured the room. People stared at Chloe, then back at the screen. The confession continued. The fake fall. The forged transfer. The contract exchange. Our family, stripped bare under the weight of its own theater. Mom stood. Turn it off. Too late. The image froze on Chloe's face, caught mid-lie, mid-conspiracy. And then silence. Like the breath of a house collapsing inward. Chloe backed away, makeup cracked, mask slipping. You don't understand, she choked. I had to, she was always. No, I said. I was never anything but in the way. Her voice cracked. They were going to give it all to you. Because it was mine. And you took it anyway. A beat. Then Dad spoke. Is this true? No one answered. He turned to Mom. You knew. Still silence. He sat down.
Hard.
Chloe trembled. You wanted the perfect wedding, I told her. So here it is, your legacy in high-definition betrayal. Cameras were already rolling. Guests recording. Social media feeds buzzing. No taking it back now. Truth wasn't a secret anymore. It was a virus. After that, everything moved fast. Dante filed the injunction within the hour. The forged signatures. The videotaped confession. The timeline of manipulation. Claire emailed every news outlet with the metadata chain. A few outlets went live within minutes. By midnight, Chloe's face was on national news. Not as a bride. As a fraud. Nolan Ray disappeared. No one had seen him since. Mom refused to comment. Her silence was louder than guilt. Dad resigned from the family board the next morning. And me? I walked out of that ballroom without flinching. Sometimes justice doesn't come with applause. It comes with silence. The kind that used to hurt. Now it felt clean. It's easy to erase someone when they stay quiet. But silence isn't consent. It's survival. And survival, when you're ready, becomes the loudest voice in the room. A few days later, I stood alone on a cliff outside Point Reyes. Wind tearing at my coat.
No cameras.
No questions. Just breath.
Just sky.
I used to believe family was unbreakable. That blood meant loyalty. But sometimes blood is the first thing they weaponize. And sometimes your biggest victory isn't revenge. It's being seen for the first time and not needing their permission to exist. The wedding was perfect until the truth became the bride.